Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 19 of Your Favorite Movies. Today, I'm talking with someone who you might know as Kid Critic, but is now known as Criticality. If I'm saying that right, if I say it wrong, I apologize here. And what are we talking about today?
We are talking about white chicks. No, we're talking about Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice is so awesome. Tim Burton's one of my favorite filmmakers. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, I woke up a couple hours ago, watched some. I watched a little bit more of Beetlejuice just because I knew I had to talk about it today. And now I'm doing this.
Yeah, I mean, that works perfectly. I watched this movie for the first time, I think, back in October. But do you remember the first time you watched it?
When I was growing up, I grew up with all this old retro stuff from like the 80s and 90s. And I think the first time I watched it, it was on a VHS, but I don't exactly
Oh,
remember, where or how old I was. But the first time I remember it, and like the first time I remember it, I think I might still have it around. Like the first copy of the film there it is. That was rather easy. This was the way I saw it from the first time I remember. I
the
think it was
clip
when I was
case.
6.
The
Yeah,
clip
yeah,
case
it does.
DVD.
The cardboard thing, it tells you the scenes. God.
Oh,
You can't
God.
find stuff like this. I think when I was 6, I believe. Yeah. And I watched a lot of stuff in my childhood that I probably shouldn't have watched, and that's definitely probably one of them. Since, despite the PG rating, it is far from a PG movie.
You're totally right. This movie definitely pushes the line. And when I first watched it, I went into it like with a lot of hype because Tim Burton, as I said, is one of my favorite filmmakers, and I grew up with his Batman movies. And Edward Scissorhands is my favorite film of his, and I've seen it a ton of times. I watch it almost every single year. Sweeney Todd is a film that I really adore. I think it's fantastic. Sleepy Hollow is probably my second favorite, so I loved a lot of them. And then I went in and watched this one, and I really enjoyed it. It's not my favorite by him. Oh, and there's also Ed Wood I watched for the first time this year, and Big Fish I watched like 2 years ago. But I went into this, and it's not like my favorite of his at all, but I really enjoyed it. I think that obviously one of the main reasons people talk about this movie is the main man, kind of Michael Keaton. Like he's like the poster man. He's not in it as much as you would think. Like I noticed that when I watched it, I was like, I thought he was gonna be in it a lot more, but he steals every single scene. Would you agree?
Yeah, I definitely would have to. And the thing is, no one was kind of expecting Michael Keaton to be able to put on this entire, big persona, being crazy and all that. Because, like, I think he played the straight man throughout, a lot of
Oh
his
yeah.
career in the beginning. And then he did this, and then I believe he went on to do Batman, which definitely
Yes.
sealed him as one of the great classic actors. And yeah, you're right. You're right. You do think that he's going to be in way more scenes, and I think even I, like every single time I rewatch it, I'm just like, man, he's in less and less than I remember. But that's the thing, as you said before, he steals every scene he's in. He's able to make the I think he's in it for a good 20 to 30 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
That's just an estimated guess, and yet it feels like he's in the film for an hour, and I mean that in the best of ways, because he's just so funny and crazy, and honestly, like he's probably my favorite character of Tim Burton's.
Oh yeah, he's definitely one of mine. I don't know who I would say is my absolute favorite. That'd be a fun list to make one day. But he's definitely up there. I mean, he's one of the most iconic characters of the 80s in general. And I mean that poster that you have behind you, that poster is just awesome. I love it so much. It just says so much about the movie. And like when I think of a ton of the big scenes in the movie, like the ones that really stick with me do feature Michael Keaton. And also, this film also has one of my favorite actresses, and that is Winona Ryder. And she was in a lot of the Tim Burton films, and she is just so good here. Like she is so amazing here, and she kind of she plays that angsty teen that she'd played a few times. but it just works once again. And I think it is. I mean, we've said it a million times, but it really comes down to the Tim Burton direction, and the Tim Burton flair, and the way that that bounces off Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder, and the wacky cinematography and everything. I think that's what makes this movie still special to this day.
Yeah, and like I think the main idea that Tim Burton had was just pushing the envelope for what could be in a movie, like back then at least. So just making it absolutely batshit insane. You never know what to expect next, and I think that works in the film's favor in many ways because, like I said, you have all these crazy, fun characters that are just entertaining to watch in every single scene that they're in. And I definitely agree with you on Winona Ryder, man. Like even though she basically plays the same character, well, not the same character, but the same
Similar.
character, just like, an angsty teen that no one understands. But I think that this is probably the best interpretation of that third character.
Yeah, I think that it wouldn't have worked any other way. Like Heathers is a film I really like. I think that movie is one of my favorites of the 80s. I think it's fantastic, and obviously she stars in it. And you could say that she kind of plays a similar-ish character here, or there and here, but could you see it in any other way? No, I honestly could. And I think the whole cast does a really good job. And when I went into the movie, I didn't really know what it was about. I just knew the whole Beetlejuice like premise of it, the character of him, and I knew some of the actors in it. So when I went into it, it was almost like so different. And I do want to rewatch it. I do want to pick up the 4K because I've seen it a few times, but I just need it to drop in price where I live because I'm definitely going to watch it again this year because I typically watch a bunch of Tim Burton movies in like September, October, just because, that's like the perfect time to do it. And for me, like I feel like this one, yeah, I feel like this one will kind of improve even more rewatch. And not to say I didn't like it, like I really enjoyed it, but I feel like I could definitely see it jumping up quite a bit. And what is it about this film compared to most other movies? I don't know if this is like your number one, but like most other movies that makes it one of your favorites.
I think part of it is childhood nostalgia. There are films that I know for a fact are not as good as I hail them to be. Like I know that Beetlejuice is definitely not on anybody else's all-time favorite lists, but films like Beetlejuice and The Mask and Gremlins, even though like they're not really anyone's absolute favorites, they're mine because they left me with memories that I don't think I'm ever gonna forget. And you're definitely not gonna forget Beetlejuice after you see it. It's just
Oh, yeah, I definitely see that. And I will say Gremlins is a fantastic movie. The Mask is pretty good, pretty good. I love Jim Carrey's my favorite comedian and one of my favorite actors. That's just a little side note there. And do you know much about the musical? Because I think I follow you on Music Board, and I'm pretty sure you've posted about the musical. If you wanted to talk about that, you can definitely go on about it.
I definitely want it because I hear it's such a mixed reception type film or not film or show where people were you either love it or you hate it. And one of my friends was lucky enough to see it, and they filmed the entire thing on their phone, so I got to see it in 180p. So I didn't see it in grand 4K, but I saw it in a good enough way where I was just able to judge the thing as a whole. And I honestly really like it. It's not, of course, it's not as good as the actual film, but it's got so much flair to it itself. Like, and the way that they do the musical numbers, I love the guy who's playing Beetlejuice because he puts up just as good of a performance as Michael Keaton, as well as sings a couple great songs, honestly. So I think the musical is definitely not for everybody, but for fans like me and people who just love crazy musicals, then it's definitely for people.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I haven't seen any of it. Like I'm a massive musical person. I haven't seen any of it. I'm pretty sure I might have some parts of it like saved in a Google Drive folder that like just had like a compilation of like a ton of musicals. So I might check that out if you make it seem like it's worth watching. But is Beetlejuice in that one more? Because from what I've heard, he is, or at least it seems like it.
It's hard to remember because I only saw it a couple months ago.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the same here where he's in it. I think he's probably in it a bit more than the movie, but I honestly don't remember too much from it other than I had a good time with it, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I've got to ask, what is your favorite scene in the movie, or what are some of your favorites if you can't pick one?
Well, I think everyone remembers the end of the film more so than the rest of it. Like, and I just love the end of the film, man. Like, it's perfectly just crazy. It's when like goes straight to the max of how batshit insane he can go, and I think that that's definitely like the ending as a whole is just great. But I also love of course, the Deo scene where they're all
Yeah.
dancing around. Just
That's definitely the most iconic scene in the movie, and it's amazing.
yeah, that's the one that everyone seems to reference the most when it comes to their favorite scenes. I would say one of my favorite scenes that stuck with me the most is the scene where the couple. There's a couple in the film for those who haven't seen it, and that's kind of what the film revolves around. And they
Yeah.
die, and I love the way that they die. I can't put my finger on it why, but it's just so cruel but funny at the same time.
It's like that just kind of adds to it. I feel like again with that, it wouldn't have worked if they'd done like a peaceful or like a really kind of normal way, if that makes sense. Because that again, this movie is just insane. Like it's probably one of the most insane movies ever, but not in like a super hard R gritty way. It's like wacky. I think that is. I'm pretty sure in my letterbox review, I think I used that word. I'll reference it in like on screen the video, but it really is, and it just I said it like 5 times. It wouldn't have worked that way. Like there's like a clear vision that I guess Tim Burton had with the movie, and I'm not sure how much the studio interfered and everything because that's a whole topic for another time. But I feel like a lot of his vision was kind of shown through here, and I feel like his direction is just so strong, and the acting, of course, in like every single one of his movies that at least that I've seen has been very, very good. And I think that when you have a movie like Beetlejuice, and the second you say the title, and obviously the title is like one of the characters' names, and you just yeah, you just know like this is a big staple of the 80s. That's when you have something great. And I don't know if it'll be in frame, but you have a Back to the Future poster, Breakfast Club, and all that. But like this movie, when you say the name Beetlejuice, like people typically recognize it almost as much as those other movies. Would you agree?
I would definitely have to say so, and because like as I said before, it's kind of a film that you don't forget. Like, and there are very like I'm not saying there are none at all, but there aren't too many movies, at least for me, that are like that you just never forget, unless you had like a extreme theater experience with it. But there's like watching a movie at home. There's very few times where a movie like Beetlejuice can, you know.
Yeah, and for me, like I can remember specifically, I mean, it wasn't too long ago, like it was nearly a year ago now, probably around 10 months ago or so when I watched it. And like since I have the LED lights around my room, I purposely, I don't know how much you'll see this, but I turn them to green. You can't really see it at all. So I turn them to green. I just change them back. There we go. And I was like, that is just like the perfect, color to watch the movie. And like for those who have them around your room, and if you haven't seen Beetlejuice, I mean, we haven't really talked too many spoilers here, not like too much, but if you have them around your room, or a lot of people have them behind their TV, if you put on the color green, you are just so immersed in the movie, at least I feel, because it's like the perfect color. Because a lot of movies, it seems like they have their specific color. I don't know what that is. Like that's kind of something I only discovered, I guess, when I got these lights. And typically I turn them off when I watch stuff, but I'm like, that was like the perfect way to watch it because maybe it's because it's the color of Michael Keaton's hair and the title, like the font color and everything. But it just works so well with the movie. And I also have to say the sets in this movie are incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like there are very few films that I'm saying that there are very few films for a lot of this. There are very few films that the set design itself is what stays in there as well. Because like when characters go to the land of the dead, it's just like it's like I love the jagged edges and just the angular approach. And that's another thing I love about Tim Burton. He's always going that extra step to make sure that everything just looks perfectly Burton-esque. And like there's a reason that he has his own word for his own style because he earned that word definitely. Films like this, you can just 100% yep, that's Burton-esque.
Yeah,
Based
like
on the
this film kind of in the same vein as like even the first two Batman films, Sleepy Hollow, kind of Sweeney Todd, and even though Sweeney Todd is an adaptation of a musical, which I have talked about with Chris, I'll plug that video up here, and that video was a lot of fun. But like he has a very specific style, and when you're watching a Tim Burton movie, I'd say most of the time you can definitely tell. Like Ed Wood, I watched the first time this year. It's a phenomenal film. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's really great and it's different, so that's why I think it really works too, because it shows that he does actually have range here. And Big Fish is also it's definitely different. It's not as wacky as a movie, but there are scenes that you're like, yeah, only someone like Tim Burton could pull this off. But when you think of Tim Burton, you think of the sets of Beetlejuice or the character designs in Batman and Batman Forever and everything like that.
yeah,
And even like, the darker kind of lighting in some scenes, or like the different colors, like the color palette, especially. I think that the cinematography and color palette and everything is just so good in the movie. And as we said, like the sets and everything, that's part of the reason why the film sticks with you. Is yes, it's batshit insane, as you said, but it works because it has those sets that really make you feel immersed in the movie. And I mean, the story of this is just insane. Like of course it's just insane. But I feel like because everyone was on the top of their game acting wise, Tim Burton knew exactly what he was doing with his direction, cinematography, everything, sets, everything. I feel like that's why this movie works so well.
can agree with you on the whole color palette thing because the film has just such a beautiful range of colors. Like it goes from green to purple to blue to just it's just an absolutely gorgeous movie, surprisingly. And something I also want to talk about is something that's much more in your lane when it comes to music. Danny Elfman's score, because wow, like yet again, like the film sticks with you for multiple reasons, and the score is definitely one of them. Because like every single time I watch it, I can't help but go bum 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 in the opening because
Yes.
it sticks with you. Like the music is just fantastic. Danny Elfman really like he keeps on like when it comes to Tim Burton films. I think that Danny Elfman is at his best because I think I read something that Danny Elfman always wants to, do the best he can for Burton and that's with how we got such fantastic scores like for Edward Scissorhands, one of my favorite scores of all
Yes.
time.
Oh, yes. It's beautiful.
Did you know that he was honestly thinking that Burton was going to hate that score? So yeah, Danny Elfman, honestly, he really hit it home with the score for this film.
I agree. Like again, I mean, we've said it a million times in the video. People are probably going to comment about it, but it just adds to the whole like almost experience of the movie. I would say like I know that this film was playing in theaters. I don't know how many years ago. I don't know even know the reason why it was. I don't know if it was for some anniversary or something, but I could just imagine, hearing all the score and seeing these insane scenes play out, and it all just comes together to make a really amazing movie. Even as I said, yes, this isn't one of my favorite Burton films. Like I definitely have problems with it, but I feel like there's no point in getting into them in a video like this, because videos like this are not to say I really like this movie, but these videos are to say this is why you should go watch the movie. This is why it's one of whoever's favorites, and this is why, the reason that we still talk about it. And I think that that's why Beetlejuice is so great, because it still spawns massive conversations to this day. And Michael Keaton is known for this role, especially. I mean, he's played a ton of incredible roles as Bruce Wayne in Birdman, like so many amazing performances. But this one, even for me, even though he's only in 20, 30 minutes of the movie, whatever it is, somebody can tell us down below, it still works every single time. And is there anything else about the film you want to talk about?
Is there? I legitimately had the question that. Oh yeah, how it sprouted just a couple different things. Of course, it sprouted the musical, but it also sprouted a TV show that I watched when I was younger, and that is pretty good. And that's probably because Tim Burton actually had a hand in that shit. So yeah.
I actually didn't even know about that. I'm surprised. Maybe I've seen something about it, but I know I definitely haven't watched it. And something else I really noticed, I just thought about this now. When you go into any Hot Topic, now Hot Topic is like the greatest store for any clothing for me, at least. That's where a majority of my clothing is from. A lot of it is Beetlejuice. But like a lot of the stores, there is so much from Beetlejuice. Even if it's the stripes, even if it's the shirts, there's like backpacks, jackets, socks, like everything. And the movie almost like, it has the angsty teens. That's a lot of hot topic, but I feel like it just, I don't know, it's a very important movie in ways that you wouldn't expect. Like it kind of taught a bunch of people that you can still push boundaries with famous actors and it still works. And I have to thank you for coming on, man. It was a ton of fun talking about this movie. I mean, this flew by for me. I've had a very interesting day, as I've told you so far, but I really enjoyed talking about this movie. And go subscribe to him if you haven't already. Besides the fact that YouTube likes to block his videos because YouTube's annoying, his videos are really great. And is there anything else about the film you want to say once again?
I'm done with my piece, man. Thank you for having me on because this was fun. This flew on by.
I totally agree. And if you haven't seen Beetlejuice, you have to check it out. And join me next week for episode, was it 20? 20 episodes, and that's crazy. And thank you all for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Over and out.